Everyone's racing past DeFuniak Springs headed to the beaches.
They have no idea what they're driving past.
A lake that is perfectly round.
Streets lined with mansions frozen from the 1890s.
Weapons hidden in a library and ghosts in a hotel.
A tiny inland town that secretly runs Florida's most famous beaches.
And a meal worth stopping for. Let's go see what they're missing.
Pulled out of Daphne, headed east on the Interstate, because sometimes that's the only way to get somewhere.
Construction in Pensacola seems like it's never going to end.
Yo, Joe!
Milton, Florida is one of our favorite small towns.
Made a pit stop in Crestview to go back home and get some coffee.
Every town we go to always has a train.
After about 2 hours saddle time, finally made it into town.
Welcome to DeFuniak Springs, historically known as the cultural and educational capital of the South.
Located in the piney woods of Florida Panhandle, this town serves as the county seat of Walton County.
Today, it's officially known as a naturally well-rounded community, where about 6,800 residents call these circular shores home.
Once upon a time, these quiet streets brought thousands of scholars, presidents, and poets into the Florida wilderness.
Grand Victorian homes and historic brick storefronts still carry the charm of a bygone era. To find where the story of this town began, we're simply going to head down to the water. Standing on the shoreline today, it's easy to see why this body of water stopped travelers in their tracks. Long before there was a town, locals called this spring-fed anomaly Open Pond, a natural mystery hidden deep in the wilderness.
In March of 1881, a surveying crew from the Pensacola and Atlantic Railroad was hacking its way through dense pine forests. They were looking to connect the Florida Panhandle by rail.
Leading the expedition was Colonel W.D. Chipley. He was searching for an ideal location to build a main station and timber depot.
When the crews emerged from the trees and saw the spring, they were stunned. Stretched out before them was a spring-fed lake so perfectly round, legend claimed it was made by an ancient meteorite.
Instead of clearing the trees, Chipley ordered the virgin forest preserved. They surveyed a 1-mile road wrapping around the water, named the town in honor of Railroad President Frederick DeFuniak, and laid the foundation for the town.
As you ride around Lake DeFuniak, the most striking building overlooking the lake is the Chautauqua Hall of Brotherhood.
Today, it stands in quiet elegance, but a century ago, this very building was the winter epicenter of a national movement Theodore Roosevelt called the most American thing in America.
In 1874, this movement was started on another lake town, Lake Chautauqua in New York State. The movement actually began as an intensive summer training institute for Sunday school teachers and Bible study leaders.
It quickly exploded into a nationwide cultural phenomenon, combining theology, literature, science, and music into America's first home study reading program and traveling lecture circuit.
In 1884, Chautauqua leaders wanted a warm southern winter campus. Seeing a massive business opportunity, the same Colonel W.D. Chipley, who founded the town, pitched Lake DeFuniak, offering free train travel and prime donated land on Circle Drive. DeFuniak Springs was a perfect location for their needs.
Designated the official winter assembly in the land of summer, Ellen and excursion trains began chugging onto Baldwin Avenue with discounted fares, uploading up to 4,000 scholars, pastors, and families a day.
For 7 weeks every winter, national icons stood right here behind the podium. From Red Cross founder Clara Barton and orator William Jennings Bryan to famous Southern evangelist Sam Jones.
In 1909, the town constructed its permanent masterpiece, the Chautauqua Hall of Brotherhood, serving as the grand entrance to a massive 4,000-seat auditorium. Looking up at these white pillars today reminds us how this very building helped shape the cultural mind of America.
And still to this day, the Florida Chautauqua Association holds an assembly every year. Leaving the lake behind, we rode straight onto Baldwin Avenue into historic downtown DeFuniak Springs.
Cruising through these streets, you can see the layers of the town's history, from the big store that supplied 1890s winter scholars to the First National Bank, where this vintage street clock has timed the pace of downtown life for over a century.
Once the Grand Chautauqua era came to a close, the community had to completely reinvent itself. In the 1940s and 50s, DeFuniak Springs transitioned into a major panhandle hub for timber logging, naval stores, and livestock.
By the 1970s and 80s, locals tapped into the region's sandy soil from muscadine grape vineyards and agriculture, successfully evolving from a Gilded Age resort into a hardworking, thriving small town.
But there's a secret hiding on these streets almost no one knows about. Back in 1887, the state of Florida chose DeFuniak Springs over every other city to house the state's official teachers' college, the State Normal College.
For nearly 2 decades, hundreds of students filled these downtown storefronts. But in 1905, the state consolidated higher education and moved the campus over to Tallahassee, where it eventually grew into what we know today as Florida State University.
But hold up, that was only in the ladies. The gentlemen were transferred down to Gainesville, Florida, helping to found what would eventually become the University of Florida. On top of that educational heritage, DeFuniak Springs serves as the official county seat of Walton County.
Which means every dollar of tax revenue, zoning rule, and government decision for Florida's famous coastal resorts like 30A, Seaside, Miramar Beach, and Santa Rosa Beach runs directly through this quiet inland town.
We're back headed around Circle Drive to explore those grand Victorian homes built in the late 1800s.
Standouts include Pansy Cottage, built in 1888 for famous author Isabella Alden, who wrote over 75 best-selling books under her pen name Pansy.
Right next door sits the Dream Cottage, built in 1885 for Wallace Bruce, the longest-serving Chautauqua president. He was a famous poet and the U.S. Consul General for Scotland.
The historic Thomas House was built with a grand octagonal turret to host visiting VIPs, while the Old Murray home housed dozens of traveling musicians and lecturers throughout the festival season.
Sitting right along the lake is St. Agatha's Episcopal Church. It was built in 1896 in a classic Carpenter Gothic style. It's the oldest church in DeFuniak Springs in continuous use and the only remaining church from the original Chautauqua era, housing the county's only handcrafted pipe organ. This is the Walton DeFuniak Library. Opened in December of 1886, it is the oldest continuously operating public library in the state of Florida. It started with just 50 books.
Today, it's still a thriving modern library, hosting children's story times and activities with a full basement packed with thousands of books.
Stepping inside, you'll find something truly unexpected. An exotic collection of 16th century European broadswords, battle axes, daggers, and armor. There's even rifles from the American Revolution and Civil War. This is known as the Bruce Family Weapons Collection and was dedicated to the library by Wallace Bruce and his son. Many were collected during their global travels.
In the 1980s, librarian Marilyn Coe became pen pals with famous author Harper Lee, leading the author to visit DeFuniak Springs and donate an autographed first edition copy of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Among its many historic treasures, the library houses a rare demonstration Regina music box, built before 1914, and yes, it still plays today. Along Highway 90, you can't miss Hotel DeFuniak. It's a two-story red brick landmark with over a century of history.
Constructed in 1920 from Masonic Lodge number 170, the Freemasons met in the private upper hall, while ground floor storefronts house local offices and shops.
During the 1930s, the lodge was relocated. The building was converted into a full-service hotel. This was for travelers arriving off of Highway 90 and the nearby railroad.
Because chiseling off the upper corner emblems would have destroyed the facade, special Masonic permission was granted to leave the carved square and compass symbols permanently in the brickwork.
Stepping into the lobby, it feels like stepping back in time, like a 1920s movie set or something.
Once the sun goes down, Hotel DeFuniak takes on a darker vibe as one of Florida's most haunted historic hotels.
Most of these paranormal activities take place on the second floor.
Most of these have been reported in room 8.
There are reports of lamps moving across a room on their own.
In another room, a mysterious young female spirit whose reflection is reportedly glimpsed in mirrors, only to vanish the moment the guests turn around.
Or at 1 a.m., hearing the eerie sound of children giggling and playing jacks.
Have you ever stayed in a haunted hotel? Do you have a favorite small town ghost story? Tell us about it in the comments below.
Step back in time with us as we visit the historic Walton Museum. Housed inside the town's restored railroad depot, right as you pull up, you can feel the history written at every timber on this classic landmark.
Originally constructed in 1885 as a bustling L&N rail station, this depot was once the pulse of the community, connecting travelers, cargo, and news from across the region. After decades of serving as a vital rail hub, the historic building was lovingly restored and reopened as the County Heritage Museum to preserve the rich local history for generations to come.
Inside the museum offers a fascinating look into the past. You'll find everything from original railroad memorabilia and vintage photographs to historical household items, local business artifacts, and stories told by knowledgeable staff. Apparently, this is Florida's original state flag.
You can find a lot of detailed history on DeFuniak Springs in Walton County here. The Walton Museum is free and open to the public Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Whether you're a history buff, a train enthusiast, or just looking for a cool local spot to explore, it's well worth the visit.
That's how beautiful you are.
Tonight we're at the Iron and Grape.
Italian kitchen.
Yep. And we've been smelling their bread all day long and getting ready to be here. They don't open till 5 o'clock, and reservations are suggested. It's a very unique looking place. Very
I'm talking about the wall behind us.
yeah, it's very modern, I would say,
Early.
compared to everything else in town, you know.
Full Italian in here too, though.
Yeah, it's very nice decor, very white, clean looking. You know, the walls are washed down white looking. You can tell it's a very popular place. A lot of people here, a lot of people stay in line as soon as we got here. Well, it's officially the hottest that we've been out yet. It's been a good 95 degrees out here on DeFuniak Springs. It's a very interesting town.
Very old town.
Very old. The lake is beautiful.
Got like butter, balsamic, and fresh herbs.
Yeah, it's different. Some Italian places you just get, you know, fresh olive oil and some herbs in it, but the butter and balsamic really adds to it.
It's really good. I ordered the chicken piccata. It had lemon, capers, butter, parsley. I did add the mushrooms, and it came with angel hair pasta.
I went with the shrimp scampi. It come loaded with garlic butter, tomatoes, lemon, parsley, cheese, and capers. All that was beautifully prepared on a bed of linguine. You ready to try this?
That's a dumb question. This was a true classic Italian meal. It had balsamic that was not bitter. The butter was very rich. The mushrooms, they added the right texture, and the chicken was super tender. It was juicy, and it was the perfect meal to end our day.
By this point in the day, my battery was running pretty low, and honestly, I was looking for something that wouldn't be too heavy after being out in the heat. Now, normally I'm a lasagna guy, and I have to admit, seeing some of the plates coming out on the other tables gave me a little bit of food envy, but the shrimp scampi turned out to be exactly the right call. The shrimp were huge, and the garlic flavor was nice and strong without overpowering everything else. The linguine was cooked perfectly, and man, after the day I'd had, I needed those carbs. And then there was the sauce. It was cheesy, rich, and absolutely begging for some bread to be dragged through it. By the time I finished, I knew I'd made the right choice. My batteries topped back off, and had fuel to head on down the road. If you're looking for a really good Italian seafood dinner, I definitely recommend giving the shrimp scampi a try.
We finished dinner with a dessert, creme brulee with a caramelized top, and it had strawberries, blueberries, and a little bit of cream with a biscotti biscuit. And normally creme brulee is a very rich, sweet dessert, but the tartness of the berries balanced it out, and it was just a really good combination together. It's funny, when I was younger, DeFuniak Springs used to be a pit stop where we'd get gas and a little something to eat and then get back on the road to our destination. Then when you grow up, you just realize how much history was there, how beautiful a place it is. It's just amazing that we just never stopped and enjoyed the city when we were growing up. But I encourage everyone to slow down, take a look around, sit a spell. You will thank me later.
I think the thing that I noticed the most this trip, come to the realization that every small town, every hometown kind of has its own stories to tell. And like Wendy was saying, it's very fun finding those stories. But I also found it very interesting that so many of these towns have two things in common. It's water and the railways. So many towns through the southeast were built on the rails or built on the water. So I think one thing we'll start doing is following the water and following the rails. Thanks for riding along with us on this trip. We really had a good one. As always, we want y'all to stay safe out there, but this isn't the end of this video. We encountered one of the best sunset rides we've had in a long time, so we're just gonna let this one roll out until we get back to Daphne.